Alright, so I'm once again doing a video about the XTS 2500 series radios. So this is going to be more of a buyer's guide type video that's going to go over like when you're buying them on eBay, what to look for. eBay is primarily the place where I buy my radios from, so I know I have a lot of experience with like dealing with people on eBay and what they're selling and what they'll give you, some information they won't give you, and then also just generally what to look out for when buying these radios, because they are kind of old and there's a lot of sellers on there that'll give you a little bit of information. They won't give you everything, and then also to like break down into what the actual model numbers mean. So these are just my little display radios here. I'll move these up to the side. And so this here is what a model number looks like on an XTS 2500. This are these specific models. So I'm just gonna let you know that the D model here is this model, and the H model is this model. That is one of the ways of telling the two models apart, is if you have this string of values. So the H46 value is common, like this whole section here. Let me get my pencil. Hold on. So yeah, the H46 value is common amongst all XTS 2500 model radios. So anything that's an XTS 2500 will have H46. If it says H66, then it's an XTS 1500, which really is just a lower down version of the XTS 2500. Where this Q value is, you'll see this is actually what denotes the frequency space the radio is in. So starting from the lowest value, K is VHF, which is 136 megahertz to 174 megahertz. Q, which is what these ones are, is UHF1, is a common designator for that, and it's 403 megahertz to 470 megahertz. S, if you see an S value here, that means it is UHF2, which is the 450 megahertz, sorry, to 520 megahertz, plain flannel red. And then U models, which you'll see are very common on eBay, so be cautious of that. The U model is a 700 to 800 megahertz radio, which I guess for like more of a police scanner, if you can use it for that. I mean, there's cheaper radios then, because if it's P25, it's probably encrypted anyway for your local police department. But if it says U, you can't really use those radios. You can't transmit on them legally with any class license. Even with ham, it's a little bit so-so. You have to make sure that they're within the required specifications for them. They're not really licensed for that. But if it is a U radio there, you can't use it. So you'll see a lot of radios on eBay that are this U number radio here that you can't really use, but they're going for the prices of regular ones that you can use. So you want to make sure that you're not buying a U model. You'll see a lot of them for a lot of money. So you have to be very cautious about that. And then, so the next value here is, and then the first D here, this value, from what I've been told, is that it correlates to the power level of the radio. You'll see a lot of these being D, because that's really just like the 5-watt maximum, which is what most of these radios are, but I'd imagine some are a lower value. And I don't know what the other values could be, because I've only ever seen D model radios. And then the second D, or the H, that corresponds to what model the radio is. So the values you'll see here is as a C. It's a C if it doesn't have a screen on it and no buttons, like this one without buttons at all. It is a D, as you can see here, with a model 1.5, which is what this one is. It would be an F if it is a model 2. And then if it is a model 3, like this one is, it is an H value. So you'll see H there. 9, that corresponds with like a feature set. Like actually this whole like 9PW, that is like a feature thing. So 9PW, that you're pretty much going to see with all the radios is 9PW. You're not going to see, if you see anything else, that's interesting, but that means that you're getting less feature set. I'm pretty sure most radios are 9PW because a lot of the facilities and a lot of the places that were buying these radios wanted it to be like more programmable and have more options, which is what the 9PW does. So most radios you find online are going to be this 9PW. And 5 here, or 7 here, I believe this is also correspondent to the models. So like if like the 5 is this model and the 7 is this model. So that's like what another value you could tell. And then the BN you'll see is a newer model, or AN. I believe the AN models you could tell sometimes because they'll have like finger grooves along the side of the radio. Those are an older variation that is not, let me turn this on so I can show you, that is not able to like have as many memories as channels. So the BN model is the 8 megabyte model. So if I turn this on, it's at the very end of the setting mode here, in service mode. You'll see 8 meg, if it shows you. Okay, it showed it for a second there. It says 8 meg on this screen when you're in it. I can't go back. But when you're in, when you have a lot of zones and a lot of channels and stuff, the older one is 4 megabyte, the AN model. So BN is generally better, but as long as you're not really going like too crazy with it, you probably won't really notice the difference. They also say that the BN models are faster in terms of like loading things up and everything like that when you do have more zones than the other models are. But that is not something that I'm really know about, because I've only ever seen and dealt with BN models. And then another thing that's relatively important is your, whether you have the, I think it's the KCM, or whatever it's called, the secure key module thing. So that's whether you can run multi-key encryption, like hardware level encryption, which again, you could tell through the service mode picture, or it's UCM, that's what it is, Universal Secure Model. But you could tell if it goes through the versions here, and it says secure version, that means that you have it, and then it'll tell you your different key groups of what you could do. So on this model as well, you can enter service mode. This, I guess, if you have the device, you can enter service mode by, when it first turn it on, for the first 3 seconds, pressing the top button, or is it the bottom button? Great, I think I waited too long. I think it is the top button though. You press the top button, how many times? Bottom, oh, I guess it was wrong, bottom button. This is a similar thing, but this one doesn't have the button, so just go through. So it'll tell you secure version. That means it does have some encryption capability, and so you need to load everything else onto it in case you want to do load encryption. Another big thing is going to be the batteries of the radio. So you're going to want to make sure that you're probably going to want to buy new batteries. This is a fake, not really fake, it's just not Motorola branded lithium ion battery. This is the old nickel metal hydride Motorola batteries. Now these are good if you are looking for like the immersion and the intrinsically safe things, because I think that's what the green dot means, I'm pretty sure. It said it's intrinsically safe. Like this one has it on the radio to where it is intrinsically safe on the bottom. I'm pretty sure that's what that means. Don't quote me on that, I guess, but I'm like 95% sure that's what that means. And then even then it could just be recased and the case could have it on the bottom. But anyway, the green dot's what that means. So you're not going to get that with but these batteries, they're very heavy. Let me get my little scale here. Let it zero out. So you'll see this is the lithium ion battery. Weighs about 4.8 ounces. Now for the Motorola one, it's about 9, it's almost 10 basically. 9.99. So it's almost double the weight. But they're the same charge, I think. This one might even be a little bit less in terms of watt hours. But it does have the smart charging feature, which lets you tell how many charge cycles the battery's gone through. And I can show you what that looks like. I don't know. Remember, I got a little bit of personally identifiable information on the bottom there that I don't want to display. But here, well, that's actually just a battery ID. But if you turn the Motorola on and then you go to on the Model 2s, it tells you the capacity of the battery, like how much charge is left, how many charges have happened, its capacity, and all those other things. I haven't gotten it to actually display anything because I don't really use the batteries, because like I said, they weigh like double what the other ones do, the lithium ion ones do. And also the lithium ion ones are newer, so I could only imagine that they're getting better. They're just better in terms of like battery capacity, because it's after 300 charges, that's like the end cycle for one of those radios batteries anyway. And you're not going to be very likely to find a radio or a battery that is in that remaining space, like that many charges left, like it's going to be very close to end of life with that battery. And then antennas. So this is just more of a general overview on the actual like differences of antennas. And antennas you'll get if you'll search up like XTS 2500 antennas, because a lot of the devices you buy and you are able to just like find on eBay, they're not going to come with batteries nor antennas. So that is something to look for. And the reason is a lot of the antennas are old and they do fall apart. Like this is a XTS 2500 antenna, an original like OEM one that was used quite heavily. As you could tell, it's like exposed and broken. And this was obviously like in someone's radio pouch or on someone's belt for a very long time. And that person might not have been too thin, and it bends out over time and it causes it to crack because the plastic is very old. And these are very old radios already. So you do have to keep that in mind. There is lots of like aftermarket antennas. Like this is an aftermarket, I believe it's a APX series antennas. A lot of the aftermarket ones have this little red bottom piece there, like the insulator is red, and that generally means they'll fit, because I think it's probably like all the same bottom. But so you could just these thread in fine to the radio. Well, sometimes. Oh, come on, I threaded this in before and there's no problem. Yeah, there we go. So you're just gonna have to twist it. And these are very nice. They're very flexible antennas, but these, I just don't like the look of that because I think it's too bulky for this type of radio. So another type of one you'll find is this here, which is like the round, tipped, stubby antenna. These are very common aftermarket antennas you could buy. And again, they've got the red on the bottom, the red insulator, and they fit the same way. You just kind of thread them in. They fit fine, like with every other antenna. I'm going to reference them here in case somebody wants to use them. Like this is those Brie antennas. This is more just a stand-in for a lot of other types of antennas. With the way that the Motorola's are, the connector is very recessed within the radio. So like this is just an Brie antenna here. If you go to thread that in, it just won't work. You won't even be able to really reach the thing there, and it just won't thread in. So if you plan on using it, you're going to want to get an antenna. One thing I have noticed though for commonality, like you're able to use with standard antennas, is I bought a bunch of these BNC connectors on Amazon, and you could just thread these in. And they thread in fine because they used a standard SMA connector. It's just recessed. And then once you adapt it to BNC, you can get, like this is a smiley antenna. I'm not sure the exact frequency range on this, more of an example. But this clips on perfectly fine. And now you've got a working antenna, if that's something you have. I don't really like the look of that, but it is very common to what I use on my other radios, like my Baofangs and stuff. So if you want like antenna commonality between all of them, to where it's very easy to use. And then this is another type of radio antenna. This one I got was a was sold as a XTS 2500 antenna, and my first odd thing here was that this is tan, whereas every other radio I've gotten has been red. So that was a little bit, but there's also a little bit of a shoulder. But it does still fit. I think it does still thread on. It's just a little bit tighter and it's a little bit harder to do. I was worried about damaging the antenna threads, but I haven't had an issue with that. I think it's just got a weird shoulder gap within it that makes it harder to thread on. So yeah, you're not really going to find many OEM XTS 2500 antennas just because of how old the system is. But you could look all around, and you could find them. They still, I'm sure they still exist to some people, or at least very similarly stuff like this type of antenna that you could buy. That's just a very common, similar type, little rounded antenna that's supposed to mimic the Motorola one. You could tell if they say Motorola or if they have this little M logo. Although this one I'm pretty sure is fake. They just use the Motorola logo on it. But if it says M, or it has the Motorola logo, it's most likely an OEM antenna. So that might be beneficial for you because the antenna specs are going to be very dependent, and you're going to want to try to get a good antenna. That's just general radio theory, is that you'd want to get a good antenna whenever possible to ensure that you're actually radiating out what you'd want to radiate out at a good rate. And last thing I'm going to go over is the different types of XTS 2500. So you'll see this little eye there. That means it is the ingress protected or ingress whatever. I don't know. It means that it can be submerged for longer. It's designed to be able to survive being in water. This one cannot. But that's what that means, the eye. That correlates with that. So if you see one with an eye, they generally go for more money. But that's what that means, is that it's supposed to be like immersible, so where it can go in water. The Model 3 version of that is what the PRC 153 is, which is the Marines used it. The Marine Corps used it. They used the Model 3 version of that for a little while. I think they still may, even. I don't really know. I'm not 100% sure. But that was like the official designation for these types of radios. And there's also one that I don't have here. That is the XTS 2500R, which is the ruggedized version, which is designed to be more durable, I guess. Probably like the inside of it's more durable. I don't actually own any of those. I have seen them, though, online, and I'm not sure exactly how they work out. So yeah, those are all the different models of that. Again, the standard one is fine. This is just a little bit more waterproof and dustproof, so it's a little bit more durable in those terms than all the other radios are. But still, I'd imagine you could, if you really wanted to, you could probably drive nails with these radios. They're very bulky, but especially when you compare it to something like a Baofeng. They're like I think I said this before, double the thickness and stuff like that. But you do get a lot more capability with them. So yeah, that is going to be my video talking about the differences of all the XTS 2500s, like a buyer's guide. So yeah, just remember, you don't want to buy a U model. That's really it. The U model radios, you're not going to be able to use them anyway, because the 700, 800, 100 megahertz band is saved for police, or fire and police. So just don't get one of those, because you'll see them. They'll go for the regular price of all the other ones, like $100, $200, and you won't be able to use it. So you're really just wasting your money. You won't be able to legally use it, I guess, and a lot of other radios won't be intercompatible. Like, at least with my Baofeng here, in theory, I could use this to talk to these two on analog frequencies. And that's something I'm always very, I guess, fond of, is being able to interoperate with like all my different radio systems. So this one can do both a VHF and UHF, which is beneficial, but these two are locked into the UHF space. But still, they can talk to each other on the ham bands or on whatever bands I want to use at that time. Business bands, whatever. So they can all interoperate on analog modes, unless you are not flash coded to be able to do that, which I'll probably do a video talking about that a little bit more. I'll have to see what the laws are on talking about changing the flash codes and everything. I have seen videos about it, so you could probably Google those. I know there's one for the XTS 5000, which if you follow those steps on an XTS 2500, it'll do the same thing.